a little bit crazy. It's now, I think, yeah, it's 1:30 in the morning. I woke up because the motion of the boat wasn't quite right, and found ourselves a couple hundred metres offshore. We dragged out of that very deep ledge that we were anchored on during the night, and we ended up in a couple of hundred metres of water. Actually, it might even be more. Anyway, sort of ran around quickly and got the sails up and got the engine running, got the anchor back up, 50 metres of chain hanging down, so the anchor winch did really well. I was thinking that I might have to pull that up manually, but no, it worked really good. So at 1:30 in the morning, we're now underway again. There's no point trying to go back. You know, A, it's a bit of a dodgy anchorage, and B, in the dark, it just would be disaster for the boat. So we'll just keep going. Wind's very light, about 10 knots out there. So hopefully I'll get that engine off shortly and we'll just finish sailing and continue on our way. Luckily it was no harm done, no foul, no harm, but it's a reminder to me to be extra careful in these very deep anchorages, especially when we're very near deep ledges, because we anchored in 15 metres of water, but it dropped off very rapidly and very quickly to 35 where we ended up sitting, and then down to a couple of hundred, you know, within 10, 20 metres, yeah, 20 metres maybe. So yeah, there was no point just putting out shitloads of chain because it was just going to hang on the edge of that drop off. I guess ultimately it just wasn't a suitable anchorage, or I didn't go in far enough, and I didn't go in far enough probably because there wasn't enough light. Had I gone in further, we could have anchored in maybe 10 metres of water and fallen back into 20, 25 just before the edge of that drop off. So I think in daylight you could work it out, but anyway, we're lucky, we're on our way. Dawn finds us 30 miles out from our anchorage that we dragged out of last night. Still in calm seas, we've got less than 10 knots, but we're making sort of 5 knots almost, really. Oh, yeah, five knots. And having a fairly pleasant little sail actually. The GPS has quit again. It quit on the trip across from Darwin to Salmwaki, and I really wasn't sure where to look to solve it, and being out in the sea or the ocean out there, it was just easier just to use our backup, which I did. In Salmwaki I tracked down a whole heap of NMEA cables, gave them a wiggle and a shake and a pull and a punch and a whatever, and it started working again. So I assumed that it was a loose connection from the GPS into the NMEA bus there somewhere. Thought that had solved it, but it's happened again now. So although our main GPS chart plotter is still operating, it no longer shows us, and I can't use the autopilot to track a waypoint anymore. I have to use the autopilot on a fixed bearing, which is more just a pain in the butt more than it is dangerous. I've pulled out our tablet back up again and using that to give us speed and distance and time to our waypoint. The biggest downside to it though is the lack of AIS. So although I know we're transmitting AIS and people can see us, I can't see anybody else on the AIS. So it just means we have to keep a better lookout, I guess. Anyway, it just seems to be constantly one thing to fix after another. I kind of forgot that about long distance sailing. It's just the way it is. Everything on your boat's broken, you just don't know it yet. Anyway, we'll have a nice little sail this morning. We've got about 30 miles to go to our destination. When we get there I can have a proper look at that GPS. That's the island of Palau Moa. Palau Moa. We're heading to the western, 3/4 down the western or northern side towards the west, to a place called Ilo, where the chart promises to have maybe an approachable beach, coming up out of very deep water, but then into about 10 and then to 6 metres. So we're going to have to approach very gently, see how we go. If we can't do it, we'll just continue on. You see behind us those tropical squalls again. Hopefully this one's going to pass behind us and not actually whack us, but we won't know until we get a little bit, well, until it gets a little bit closer. Tarn's adamant it's going to miss us. I'm not confident enough to make that bet yet, so I reckon there's still a chance that we may see it. Either way, you know, if that happens, I'll probably just ditch the main and run with the head saw, and yeah, it's probably the easiest solution. GPS is still out of action. Gonna have a play with that when we get there. Pretty confident that's wiring, because last time I fiddled with the wires it started to work again. I'm not sure quite which is the GPS one, but I'm just going to take them all off now one by one and give them a spray with the WD-40 and put them back together again. That was told to me as a way to help clear some of that corrosion, if there is any. It could also be that a wire is completely let go off the GPS, in which case I'll have to track it down somewhere. I don't know how I'm going to find it. Anyway, but we'll go have a look at ELO. We should be in there by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's a good afternoon approach. We'll have everything in our favour. So, you know, if it is doable, we should be able to get in there, I think. Otherwise, we'll just keep going. We've arrived at a little village called ELO, and we're going to attempt to anchor there. There's no guidebooks covering this one, unfortunately. From Salmaki through pretty much to East Timor, there's no guidebooks that I've found. Anyway, it's a very steep anchorage like this today. We're still in probably close to 1,000 metres of water, and not more than a mile offshore, probably half a mile. So we're going to sneak in, we're going to ditch some sails, sneak in very slowly. If we can't anchor here, I'm going to set sail and we're going to keep going. We'll go through the day and the night, and we'll just head to our next anchorage and hope that one's better. But in the meantime, we're going to be a little bit busy checking this out. That's the village of ELO right there.
People in beach.
You probably see the stress etched into my face as I start to approach here. We've come out of 1,000 metres of water. We've probably come up 700 metres in the last, I don't know, 100 metres of travel. And we're just about, according to the chart plotter, we're just about to hit this shelf now. The big question is, how accurate are these depths? Looks like we're on the bottom of the tide, which is good. We're very low on the tide. I've got Tarn up on the bow. She's just checking the depths as we go. Or checking for coral. So according to the chart plotter, I should start to sound the bottom very soon, but we are really close to the beach. You can see. Very, very close there. And I'm using my secondary chart plotter at the moment because the main one is kaput, or the GPS is anyway. So yeah, so that's all stress etched into my face, I guess. Anyway, we'll go gently, gently, gently. And hopefully we don't hit a wall. We are crawling along at probably 2 knots, not even that. If we do hit something, it's going to be pretty gentle. Not that that helps much in a fin keel boat like this one. And as it is at the moment, my depth sounder is reading 3.3 metres, but I know that's wrong. I think it's just can't hit the bottom, so it's giving me a false echo. Hasip meat, darling, I think cannot. Cannot, sweetheart. We must go more. Cannot, sweetheart. That's same this one. That's the village of ELO behind me, disappearing in that rain band that's coming through. Look, we tried to get in, but it was 50 metres right up to a wall, and I just wasn't brave enough to go any further. Yeah, the chart's just They suggest that there's an anchorage there in 9 to 10 metres of water, but there's just not. Anyway, that means the rest of today and tonight we'll be sailing. So no stopping today or tonight, Charlie. We're copping a really good rain squall right now, close to 0 vis. And it's back in probably 30 knots. We've got the head sail out and I'm just running before it, so it's just giving us a lot of speed right now. It's kind of a good thing. One of the downsides of not going into that anchorage at Elo is that I haven't had a chance to be able to try and fix that GPS, and I won't get to do it today or tonight on the way. It's too hard. So, and the last thing I want to do is lose the chart plotter and the autopilot that I do have working. So if I start fucking around with connections, I could end up with more problems than I have now. So at least I've got a backup chart plotter that's working fine. That's down below, by the way, so it doesn't get wet. And I've got a backup phone as well. It can also give me that. So anyway, yucky day. Bit of high-tech work going on here. We're not getting any internet on our device, and it could be that we've got the wrong SIM card with the wrong IME number or some shit like that. Oh. So Tarn's swapping them out, just to hope for the best. Personally, I think we're not getting signal because there's no signal to be had. Anyway, we'll soon find out, I guess. And I'm soaked top to tail, but the good part is, after these squalls go through, it does generally tend to clear up. Although the downside is, it looks like there's more coming. So I don't think it'll be long until we get our next one. And it could punch a little bit of wind like the last one did. So in anticipation, I've stuck a reef in the mainsail, which has slowed us down a little bit, but you know, it's rather better than being overpowered with too much up and 30 knots of wind. So we'll be sailing all day and all tonight. There is an anchorage 60 miles away, which would get us there around about midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. Then of course we can't enter in the dark, or I wouldn't. So although that's a suitable one, we may have to bypass that one as well. Or we just stand offshore for 6 to 8 hours, which seems pointless because we could be sailing 6 to 8 hours and we could make another 40-50 miles. Anyway, we'll see how the day progresses. I think it's better just to hang loose and just continue moving forward in the direction we want to go, which is west towards Malaysia. Tarn discovered zinc today. Such an Aussie girl. She figured out how to put zinc on, but just didn't quite understand the meaning of it. So she's really beautiful today. We're settling in for another evening at sea. So we're just a little bit east of Palau Moa, which is the anchorage of Kaiwatu Do, which is the one that I really wanted to make. I really wanted to stop at, but it's not really going to work out. I know I could have anchored there, but the only option I've got is to basically arrive there at 11 o'clock tonight and then stand off until 6:30 or 7 in the morning, then go in. So it's a wasted 6 or 7 hours. I may as well be sailing. So we'll just bypass it. I guess we'll just go on. I don't know what's next along the line. Not a lot of anchorages until we get, you know, sort of north of Timor. So we could end up with a good solid all night and then all day again. So we are banging out miles. That's good. We are going west. That's good. And hopefully we soon get into some cruising grounds where the anchorages are achievable. Basically between Salmaki and sort of here, there really hasn't been much that's achievable for a yacht. So anyway, settling in for another night at sea. Looks like we've got 15 knots of breeze. About that. Got the full head sail out, a reef main, single reef, just in case we get another squall. We've had a couple of squalls during the day. And pretty soon we're going to tuck in behind that island, Palau Moa. And we're going to be in smooth sea. We'll get that for 4 hours. Smooth sailing, like that. And I'm going to have to start the engine at some point too and charge up the batteries. We just haven't made enough today with all the cloud cover. So a couple of hours on the motor. I'm just waiting for a time when the wind drops away so that I can actually make use of the engine rather than using it while there's plenty of wind. But if it doesn't happen, well, that's okay. We'll just start it anyway. Anyway, there you go. There's sunset on board. Getting ready for a sunset. And that's the island of Palau Moa off in the distance on our port side. No sunset tonight, just too much cloud. Here's the plan. So we've tucked in behind Palau Moa, which is the island that has the port of Kaiwatu, or the anchorage of Kaiwatu on it. And because we've been at sea for, a couple of days, I've decided it's worth stopping at Kaiwatu. The problem is that I don't want to make that approach until the morning, and it's only 9 o'clock at night. So in this busy little channel here with little fishing boats running left and right and all over the place, and lit with all sorts of crazy lights, we're just got a reefed main up in about 10 knots of wind, and we're making about 3.5 knots. So the plan is just to sail all the way down there towards Kaiwatu, and when we get there to sail around in circles until dawn. And then when we've got enough daylight to make an entrance into that anchorage, then we'll give it a crack. And that'll give us all tomorrow, plus tomorrow night to have a rest, maybe another day, and maybe one more night to have a rest if we like the place. And we can sort out a few things while we're at it. So I can hopefully fix that GPS. We can get top up the diesel tanks maybe, and maybe even get some internet more reliable, which would be really cool. So anyway, there's our situation. This is our backup plotter because our main GPS plotter is not working at the moment. That purple line is the route, the red is us and the course we're on, and we're making 3.2 knots. We'll be at our waypoint at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then we'll just tack backwards and forwards until we've got daylight. That's the plan. So probably see you in the morning, I think. We've dropped the pick now after tacking back and forth all night up and down the channel, past the anchorage you get here at Kaiwatu. I'm so exhausted I can't remember. Kaiwatu. We've dropped the pick just off the jetty here in about 20 metres of water, and we've hung back into about 25. Still quite deep here. The first approach we made, the locals waved at us off in their canoes. Even though Navionics chart shows someone had anchored right there, it was still showing 70 metres. So I don't know how they got in there. But anyway, we're anchored. Very beautiful. Like all the anchorages here. Once you get into them, they're stunning. Both Tan and I are completely exhausted. It's been a really, really long, well, 36, 40 hours sailing. We've done a couple of 100 miles, so it's nice to get that out of the way. How good's that? There we've dropped the pick. That port hand marker's missing. It's not there. And we're sitting in about 20 to 25 metres of water. Those other two anchored vessels there on the Navionics chart, they must have been anchoring in about 80 metres of water, because I passed directly over the top of both of those spots to check them out, and they were super deep. So don't rely on those. It's a very beautiful anchorage here at Kaiwatu, but unfortunately for us, we've had a beam swell coming into this anchorage since we got here, at 7 o'clock this morning, and we just rolled our guts out all day. And now the wind has swung around a little bit, so we're getting more of an east-northeast, which is putting us at times onto that jetty as a lee, and it does not make me feel very comfortable. all we really need is a nice big thunderstorm to come through, and we could end up, you know, with real problems on our hands. So whether we stay here tonight or not is kind of in the lap of the gods at the moment. We're just going to remain for the time being. Wind's quite light, although this swell is really annoying, so it's uncomfortable rather than unsafe. But if it becomes unsafe, then we'll pull the pickup during the night and we'll get moving again. Luckily from here our exit is clear, so it's a fairly straightforward process to get that pickup and get moving. Still, be a shame. It's such a beautiful place. You can see there, we haven't even been ashore because I'm not game to leave the boat the way she's sitting at the moment. At times she's got her stern pointed directly at that jetty, and that does not make me feel good. Especially in this deep water. Right here we're anchored in about, I dropped the pick in about 20 metres, and by the time we fell back we're in about 25 metres. 65 metres of chain out, which is more than enough, but you know, again, it's got to be safe. So we didn't even go ashore. What a shame. The next place hopefully will be less rolly. A place called Gila, about 40 nautical miles northwest of this location. So even if we do pull a pickup at, you know, midnight tonight or even before then, it takes us about 8 to 10 hours to get up there. You know, nice leisurely 5 knots, and we'd be there around about morning, and hopefully be able to get in daylight and anchor. Anyway, we'll see how it pans out today. We don't know yet. I'm just sitting anchor watch in the stern at the moment, watching village life pan by around me, and hoping that we don't have to move. But I won't be able to sleep tonight. Not if we're still on a lead. Anyway. Yes, sure can.
Because you disturb
Sure. What I'll do is I'll move out.
Yes.
He can come in, and then I come back.
Okay.
Is this okay? Yep. And I think we have fishing net here somewhere. Darling, I just have to take the boat, move out, okay?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to stay here or do you want to go?
Stay here. Jadi apa? Udah pulang.
Saya nanti bergeser ke sana saja.
Well, the dinghy will need to move.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Come separate.
Because
Now?
Masih hidup maju lagi. Bisa. Beda lah dengan kita.
Okay. Okay.
Kalau Bapak dong.
Have to take the dinghy, go.
Yes.
Yeah. Lucky for us, the local authorities have come over to say hello and check all our paperwork, and just as they did that, big ship's decided it's going to come in and dock here. So we've had to pull our anchor up and move. We'll get out of his way and then we'll come back in and relay our anchor. So, when you get to Indonesia, sailing around Indonesia, you're going to find that officials and bureaucracy are everywhere. They just love it. Everybody's got to be part of the party. So yeah, so there you go. Anyway, lovely guys. They're happy to have them on board. Checked all our paperwork, passports and everything, and they're done. And got a little bit of an issue with my anchor chain link counter. It's no longer showing me how many meters are going out. So, one more thing to fix. But I did fix the GPS today, I think. At least for the second time. You know, see how we go. It's been an interesting day today, hasn't it? So, we rolled our guts out since we got here this morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. And we just rolled and rolled and rolled. It was awful. But then later in the afternoon, after about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, things started to ease up a little bit.